Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Corey McNeil and Robert Parris, Peter Brown with the weather, Matt DiMarzio with sports, and Marge McDonald with senior news. Thank you for joining us. This past Sunday marked the 15th anniversary of the attacks of September 11, 2001. To mark the occasion and honor those lost and the brave first responders who did all they could, the town held a special ceremony on the town common. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford was there and has this report.
A good-sized crowd gathered on the Burlington Town Common this past Sunday to remember the victims of the terrible attacks of September 11, 2001, and to pay homage to the first responders who gave their lives trying to save as many people as they could. The ceremony was also dedicated to all first responders who take it upon themselves to face dangers to keep the rest of us safe.
Well, I mean, the 5th year, the 10th year, and all the other years in between, you know, we've always talked about those souls, those innocent souls that died that day. But I wanted to take a moment, especially this year, when there was a lot of anger and hatred against some first responders, that maybe we need to take a moment and specifically, deal with what those 343 firefighters and the 71 police officers and the 55 military personnel at the Pentagon. 127 people died in the Pentagon, but 55 were military. Thanking them and thanking our first responders for the work they do every day, the things that we cannot do and would not do. They stand between us. And I wanted to make sure that we thanked Lance Corporal Gregory McDonald also.
Today's the 15th anniversary of 9/11. I mean, it's a significant event for us. I mean, it's a significant event for all America. It's important for us to remember these type of events. It's historic for public safety and first responders. I mean, it's the most significant loss of life for us. It is important to remember.
The center of the ceremony was covered by a giant American flag made of small flags, each one adorned with the name of a first responder or member of the military killed on September 11th. There was also a big surprise unveiled during the ceremony, a beam from the World Trade Center itself. It is one of 2 given to the town that were dedicated to the Burlington Fire and Police Departments.
It was a surprise. Well, the surprise became less a surprise as we got closer to today. More people began to know about it. We did have an opportunity to get a contact name from Congressman Moulton's office. I made the call, I wrote the letter, I did the application process, and stayed in touch with them. And they were able to get us eventually 2 pieces of artifact, 2 beams, 14 feet long each, both over 700 pounds. And now it's up to the members of the fire department and the police department to decide what's the best way we can preserve that memory and how we display those 2 items.
Assistant Fire Chief Michael Patterson was one of the men who helped secure the beam for the town, and he introduced it to the crowd with an emotional speech.
I mean, it means the world to me. I mean, I was lucky enough to be part of going down to New York City with Selectman Hogan and Ed McLean, and it was, when I look back at the end of my career, that's going to be probably one of the top 3 most memorable moments for me personally, was going down there to retrieve that piece of history. So, I mean, we lived the incident, we lived the event, we supported the Fire Department of New York, the Police Department of New York, by attending funerals. We were actually on the grounds within a month of the event. As my speech today, I kind of broke down a few times, but it brings back raw emotion. Even talking or thinking about this.
Everyone agreed that having 2 pieces of the World Trade Center here in town was significant for the community.
I commend firefighter McLean and Deputy Chief Patterson and Bob Hogan for getting that piece to come to Burlington, to have something connected to the actual tragedy, to just, again, keep the memory fresh in our minds, is huge, and I commend them. They did a lot of work to get it.
Oh, that's historic. I mean, we actually have tried numerous times over the years, been unsuccessful to this point, but to able to actually obtain a piece of the World Trade Center and get it, being the last day they were distributing the last pieces that were distributed, it's very meaningful to us. And be able to bring a piece of that back here where we have such a connection to the events of 9/11.
Finally, like with all ceremonies in Burlington, the turnout of residents was strong, with many people coming out to remember the victims and honor first responders.
It's an awesome turnout. I can't believe this. It's the people of Burlington, the residents, the town employees and stuff like that. And for just to see the numbers that were here on the Common today, it's incredible. It really is.
Well, this community is such a encompassing community. I knew we'd have a big turnout, and we've been impacted certainly in this community with our ties to 9/11, and the fact that we'll never forget 15 years later. It brought it to the surface again.
No idea how many people, but there was a good turnout. It was nice to see the good crowd, and we had honor guards and the fire department and police department turned out well, and we're always happy at that.
At the Burlington Town Common, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
A commemorative ceremony like that takes a lot of time to plan and coordinate. It also requires a lot of volunteer help to make it a success. BNews reporter Corey McNeil spoke to those behind the event and has this report on how it all came together.
A flag is a very important thing, more than just the cloth and thread that it is made of. America, once it had declared its independence, created a flag to represent the new country, getting the nation through its darkest hours and helping it overcome any adversity. During the events of September 11, 2001, the flag and what it symbolizes was no less potent. During a ceremony to commemorate the 15th anniversary of that fateful day, Burlington did not forget the fallen. A very special flag was constructed, a flag made up of many other flags, over 1,500 flags.
After several variations, we came up with the idea of getting small white flags, red flags, and blue flags, and creating a 9x12 U.S. flag. That's what happened.
My involvement was primarily with Boy Scout Troop 511. Bob had indicated that he was going to need some help setting up the flags, and we've got this crew of boys always ready and willing to help out. So I asked the troop to help out and come out Saturday afternoon to help set up the flags.
The students came up with the idea of putting the names on the white flags of all 343 firefighters who died at the World Trade Center that day, and the 71 police officers who died, and the 55 military personnel who died at the Pentagon, and the people from Burlington, Jim and Mary Trentini and Tom McGinnis and Rob Hayes. We have them on there also. There is one person who will be placing a white flag. The K-9 officer, police officer Joe Papsadero, will be placing a white flag for the one K-9 dog who died at the World Trade Center that day. He has been very instrumental with K-9 dogs, and they're very important to him. So he's going to connect us to them and them to us by placing one of these flags for Sirius, the name of the dog who died at the World Trade Center.
How long did it take to set up the flag?
Most of the work had been done before we got here in terms of laying it out. Bob had some strings laid out so we could get some nice even rows, and a couple members of the math department did the arithmetic to figure out how many flags of each color were needed in each row to fill it out. So,
Selectman Hogan talked about why the relationship between the country, its people, and their flag was so important.
Because the relationship has been so close over the years. A lot of men and women have given their lives for the flag. The red, white, and blue, and the relationship goes back and forth. So it's been for many years and will for many years.
This was very special, right? The 15th anniversary, and we used the flag to pay tribute in a lot of ways. This was very much intended to pay tribute to all the first responders, certainly for those who perished on 9/11, but really to honor all those who serve us every day and protect us.
Well, I think when we first started doing these a number of years ago, we always said, we should never forget. We should not ever forget. And hopefully by doing these ceremonies and bringing attention not only to the innocent souls that were lost that day, but to the brave men and women and the first responders, and all the men in the military and all the women in the military who stepped up to stand between us and our enemies.
For BNews Weekly, from the Burlington Common, this is Corey McNeil. Back to you in the studio.
The Burlington Police Department is looking for the public's assistance in identifying and locating a woman suspected of stealing thousands of dollars worth of sunglasses. According to the police information website, massmostwanted.org, the woman pictured here allegedly stole $4,500 worth of sunglasses from the Sunglass Hut located within Macy's in the Burlington Mall. Police say she walked into the closed Sunglass Hut and stole 13 pairs of sunglasses on August 22nd. The suspect is described as having a small build, dark complexion, and being of medium height. Anyone with information is asked to call the Burlington Police Department at 781-272-1212. The investigator on this case is James Hannafin. Burlington residents and businesses could be soon prohibited from watering their lawns entirely. As reported on BNews, due to the current drought conditions, the Board of Selectmen voted to restrict watering to once per week based on your precinct to conserve water. The restriction applies to watering by automatic irrigation systems and does not include hand watering. At first, new lawns were exempt, but last month that exemption was removed for new lawns moving forward. On Monday night's Board of Selectmen meeting, Department of Public Works Director John Sanchez said the drought conditions have worsened and that the Mass Secretary of Environmental Affairs is now recommending communities adopt full watering bans. Sanchez said he is not recommending that at this time, but that could change anytime in the near future if significant rains do not begin to fall. Sanchez also said that small amounts of rain the area has seen recently, including the sudden downpour on Sunday, have not had any effect on the dry conditions. He said the reservoir is currently down to about a month and a half of water at current usage rates, the lowest he's seen in his 10 years in town. He did say the watering restriction has helped maintain water levels in the reservoir. He said the town has had to issue about 500 warnings, but only 25 tickets so far. Burlington's financial team was recently recognized by a national organization for its efforts in creating greater transparency and readability in creating the comprehensive financial report. During Monday night's Board of Selectmen meeting, Town Administrator John Petrin announced that the town's accounting department, led by Town Accountant and Assistant Town Administrator Paul Sagarino, had been awarded a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association, an organization that represents finance officials throughout the United States and Canada. The association has more than 18,000 members at federal, state, provincial, and local finance officials deeply involved in planning, financing, and implementing thousands of governmental operations in each of their jurisdictions. Veterans and members of the Board of Selectmen praised Sagarino and his team for both the award and for the changes made to the annual report. The new report has more information than previous iterations and is designed to be more easily understood, if that's possible. A longtime Burlington resident who enlisted in the Navy at a very young age to defend our nation passed away last week. Francis Frank Xavier Holmes Sr., a veteran of both WW2 and Korea, passed away peacefully on Friday morning, September 9th, at the E.N. Rogers Memorial Veterans Hospital in Bedford. He was 88 years old. He was 14 years old when the United States was attacked at Pearl Harbor, precipitating the United States' entrance into World War II. To describe Frank's family as patriotic is an understatement. Along with Frank, his brother Leonard, his brothers Lawrence, James, and William, and his sister Claire all enlisted and served their country during World War II. Frank, still in high school and only 17 years old, had to get permission from his parents to enlist in the Navy. So at age 17 and 1 month, he was a seaman in the U.S. Navy fighting in the war. He served on the USS Cuttyhunk Island and the USS Design. Thankfully, all his family returned home safely from the war, and Frank received the World War II Victory Medal and American Area Medal. With the onset of the Korean War, Frank heard the call again, but this time chose to serve in the Army as a sergeant attached to Headquarters and Headquarters Battery, 41 1st Artillery Group stationed out of Fort Benning in Georgia. He served one term of 2 years prior to his discharge. He was proud to be an American, fight for our freedom and serve his country in both the Navy and the Army in 2 different wars. After his service, he met his wife, and the couple moved to Burlington to raise their family. You can find his full obituary at www.bcattv.org/BNews. A carved head found in Burlington decades ago is still a mystery, and at least one expert has taken an interest in trying to solve it. As reported on BNews, 40 years ago, Mike Panico found the carving while looking for turtles in a swamp between Route 3A and Fieldstone Drive. Panico, who now resides in Florida, got curious about the head, which looks like a totem, and says he took it to an archaeologist who examined it. The archaeologist said that at first blush he believed it was quite old and definitely Native American. Panico was not sure if the archaeologist was right or just trying to be knowledgeable, as he only spent a few minutes examining it, and it was not his area of expertise. The head weighs about 4.5 pounds and stands about 10 inches tall. He then decided to send it to the Burlington Historical Society, where it resides today. Since then, Society President Mary Nolte has been trying to find answers. At the recommendation of the Smithsonian, she sent photos of this carving to consulting archaeologist and rock art specialist Edward Lennox. Lennox said he does not believe the carving is of Native American origin, as it does not have similarities with other known artifacts. Lennox was able to offer some insight on the time frame which it might have been carved, when it might have been carved, though not anything near an exact date. He said because it appears to be carved using metal tools, it was done sometime after the 1600s, though exactly when is unclear. It may be 400 years old or at 40 years old, he said. Though he does not believe the piece is to be of Native American origin, Lennox did suggest it was possibly African American in origin due to the details of the carving. So the mystery continues. Nolte asks that anyone with information or insight send comments to her at noltemkn@verizon.net. Our crack staff has that up for you on the screen. We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown in our weather center. For this week's forecast, we'll also check out the community calendar with Ian Casciola to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown with your look at your weather for the upcoming period. As we start out our period, look at this. Can you believe it? We're already into the middle of September already. We're going to actually start off with temperatures about average. That's a little bit different for this summer, that's for sure. We've mostly seen temperatures well above average, but we can definitely feel fall coming in, that's for sure. We're going to see daytime highs starting out our period in the low 70s and lows at night in the upper 40s. So very, very comfortable if you're outside doing any activities or trying to get a good night's sleep. That's for sure. We don't have to worry about the air conditioning being on anymore. And look at this as we get towards the end of the period, September 22nd, which is actually the first official day of fall. Our temperatures usually around 70 and again lows in the upper 40s. So very nice fall-like feel into the air. And you can definitely notice that with the length of day. We're almost to the equinox, which means we're going to see just about 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night coming up. And after that, our nights are actually longer than our days. So that's a sure sign of the change of the seasons. But as we move ahead, I'm going to show you a little bit about what's going on with the weather this upcoming period. And we basically could take the same map that we had for last week and put it on to this week and apply it to this week's weather, because we're basically going to have almost a carbon copy of the weather we had this past 7 days, where we're going to see a chance of showers maybe this weekend as a front passes by. And once this front gets off the coast here on Sunday, might have a few maybe showers during the afternoon on Sunday, maybe not. That's not set in stone, but look at what's coming behind it again. Just wall-to-wall sunshine. So unfortunately, I know we're getting towards the end of the growing season finally, but I know a lot of people really are counting on some rain to help with their fall harvest. And unfortunately, it just doesn't look like the rain wants to come out of the clouds to help us. But as we move ahead, I'm going to show you another graphic. And this is just illustrating maybe a look ahead at what might be coming this winter. This is a map of the sea surface temperatures in the Pacific. And if you remember about this time last year, we showed you a graphic very similar to this showing El Nino with warm waters here around the equator off of South America. Well, that's completely changed. We actually have much cooler water now off of South America, which may be indicative of what we call a La Nina pattern developing over the Pacific. Now, that could bring us actually a much stormy and much colder winter for coming up, but that's not set in stone either, and that's about 3 months out. So we'll have to see how this develops in the Pacific and see how it influences our weather. But for right now, definitely don't have to worry about any incredibly cold blasts of weather, that's for sure. And as we move ahead, I'm going to show you a little bit about our 7-day forecast. And again, look at this. Almost every single day we have sun. The only difference might be Sunday afternoon going into Monday morning. And Sunday, of course, we have Truck Day on the Common here in Burlington. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that rain away and maybe get the fireworks in at night. But after we get by Monday, look at this. Going into the middle of next week, the end of the period, just sun everywhere and temperatures getting up again into the 80s. So actually much above average as we finish up the period. So folks, it looks like summer is continuing on, even though we're heading into fall at the end of this period. But get out there, and I hope you enjoy the weather.
Hello, and welcome to your community calendar. First up, have you ever wanted to take a trip to Maine? On Saturday, September 24th, the Burlington Rec Department is having a day trip to Kennebunkport, Maine. The town has many beautiful beaches, art galleries, restaurants, and small boutique shops. Come join a lovely afternoon in Kennebunkport with your loved one or with the family. Pre-registration is required. The cost per person is $99. For more info, visit burlington.org or call 781-270-1695. Next, do you read modern historical books? On Saturday, September 25th, from 1 to 3 p.m., the Barnes & Noble Burlington is hosting a meet and greet with the author William R. Grazer, author of Veterans Reflections, History Preserved. The book follows stories of veterans who served in World War II, the Cold War, Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Quiet War, and Operations Desert Storm in Iraq and Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Veterans share their stories of sacrifices, commitments, courage, happiness, and fear. Everyone is welcomed, and the event is free. For more info, visit barnesandnoble.com or call 781-273-3871. Are you looking forward to the Topsfield Fair this year? The Burlington Rec Department will be selling discount tickets to the Topsfield Fair. Topsfield Fair is one of the oldest American fairs in the state of Massachusetts. Residents can purchase tickets at the Rec Department at a discounted price of $9. Everyone is welcomed at the fair. For more info, visit burlington.org or call 781-270-1695. This has been your community calendar. I'm Ian Casciola. Back to you in the studio.
We now welcome our new sports reporter, Matt DiMarzio, for his first report. Let's check it out.
Hi everyone, this is Matt DiMarzio here to deliver the sports for the week here at BNEWS. The fall sports season is off and running at Burlington High, and the fall is shaping up to be another good one for several Red Devil squads. The boys soccer team opened the season with a pair of huge wins, edging both Woburn and Reading in exciting one-goal games. The Devils did fall against Watertown on Thursday at Brush Field, but the season still promises to be an excellent one for the boys. The girls are also underway, and despite dropping a 3-2 decision against Reading to open the year, the Lady Devils could make a serious run at the state tournament this fall. Coach Caitlin Germain's team has several returning starters back on the field. Things didn't start exactly as planned for the football team last Friday as the Devils lost to Billerica, one of the best teams in the state this year. But Burlington travels to Woburn on Friday night to play the Tanners and returns home to Varsity Field the following Friday to play Melrose. For a full season preview of the Red Devil action, Robert Paris headed down to Varsity Field for this report.
The field lights are on and the teams are ready. Football has officially returned to Burlington. Now in its 24th year, Burlington's head coach Sean McGuire is ready for another season with the Red Devils. As it does with every high school team, the roster has changed since the previous season.
Well, it's last year, coming into the year, we had a lot of returning kids, a lot of 3-year and 2-year starters, so it's big difference. We lost most of our line. We had a very good team last year, and we graduated a lot of kids, so it's been a challenge coaching-wise. And that the kids need a lot more playing time, a lot more reps. It's because of the inexperience, so it's been challenging.
Despite the football team having lost some reliable players in the offseason, Coach McGuire has already seen some strengths and some weaknesses among the current players.
Well, we're just, we're coming off a tough loss in Barica. Barica's probably the best team we'll face all year. One good is to get them out of the way, but we did get some get banged up a little bit and everything. But we have we can throw the ball, we can run the ball. Zach Sears been very electric at running back, and with Kyle Forrester and Dylan throwing the ball. Fernando Lehman, a newcomer, can catch the ball real well, and overall team speed is going to help us quite a bit.
What are some of the challenges the coach has to deal with during the season?
Well, it's I think one of the biggest challenges every year in a public school. You get what you get. You can't recruit. You can't do anything like that. And it's hard to see kids that you've coached, developed for 3 years, and then they graduate. So you're kind of starting over. Every year there's certain positions that you're starting brand new, brand fresh with either young kids or an older kid getting their chance. But on the other hand, it's real rewarding to see kids work so hard and then get their chance and succeed at it. So it's a lot of fun.
The Red Devils did not have a successful home opener over Billerica. Quarterback and team captain Dylan Bonfilio has the challenge of bringing new players up to speed.
They had some more experience than us. We were in it right from the start. We had a big first play of the game. We were down in their red zone and kind of just fell apart. We went for the field goal. We just barely missed it right, and that's where we kind of collapsed. That team we played was a very good team. I know that's probably one of the best teams we're going to see all year. So I think if we can just learn from it, all the little mistakes we made, if we can never make those mistakes again, I know that we can be just as good as them.
From the Burlington High School varsity field, I'm BNEWS reporter Robert Paris. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Robert, for that report. The field hockey team chalked up a big win already this season, clobbering Woburn by a 5-0 score. The Devils host Watertown on Friday, but then have big games next week against Melrose on Tuesday and at home against Stoneham next Thursday. The volleyball team also has a busy stretch coming. The Lady Devils hosted Watertown on Friday, visit Melrose on Monday night, and then host Stoneham in a big match next Thursday. The golf team also has a pair of critical matches next week in the Middlesex League's Freedom Division. After hosting Arlington on Tuesday, the Devils have key league matches on the road against Wilmington on Wednesday and Melrose on Thursday. That's it for sports. I'm Matt DiMarzio. Now back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome aboard. One place where there is always a lot going on is the Burlington Senior Center. We go now to Council of Aging Director Marge McDonald for this week's Senior News.
Hello. We are in the thick of fall activities with some really great events and presentations coming up. On Tuesday, October 4th, we are having a senior protection seminar with DA Marion Ryan, Police Chief Michael Kent, Minuteman Senior Services, and Rockland Bank. We will also have a continental breakfast sponsored by the Leahy Hospital and Medical Center residents. There will be lots of really great information to help you avoid scams and frauds, as well as information on abuse, so you learn to detect the signs. On Monday, September 19th, we are having Joan Lepore, CFO and COO of ABC Healthcare, speaking about disaster preparedness with how to have fun in the dark at 1 p.m. She will also cover data breaches and active shooter situations, as well as the regular expected topics. This also should be a very informative event you won't want to miss. Our movie on Monday, October 26th at 12:30 will be Driving Miss Daisy, a fun movie about when it's time to stop driving with Morgan Freeman, Jessica Tandy, and Dan Aykroyd. Tuesday is Reiki meditation and treatment sessions in the morning, and Wednesday after the farmers market at 2 p.m., we have Andrew Morris of Better Life Hypnosis and Reiki coming to talk about hypnosis. He'll talk about myths and how hypnosis can help you in your life, and he will have some tests to see how easily you can be hypnotized. It should be a lot of fun. Coming in October, we will also have the next session of the Alzheimer's Caregiver Workshop on the 11th. Please sign up in advance so we know how to set up the room and how many materials they should bring. Last week, I attended the wake of Regina Short. She has a long list of jobs and accolades, including being the holder of the Boston Post cane as Burlington's oldest resident. She was all that, but mostly she was a survivor with an indomitable spirit who was always in the best of moods. Those who knew her, myself included, will always remember her answer to our question of how she was with, I couldn't be better if I was twins. She was a regular on Thursdays at the Senior Center for Bingo, and so I saw her every week for more than a decade and heard the same answer every single week. When I think of her, I will think of that answer and know that now she couldn't be better than if she was twins. That's all for now. I'm Marge McDonald, and I hope to see you at the Senior Center.
That's it from the news desk today. Remember that Truck Day is this Sunday, also fireworks, weather permitting. There may be a danger of them being canceled again because of the drought, obviously. We're going to go out this week with the Burlington High School Select Singers performing the national anthem for the school's morning announcement in honor of the victims of September 11th. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with BNews Director Rich Hosford.